So, American Girl has re-released the original 6 historical dolls for the 35th anniversary. I have a lot of feelings about that. I also have my original Samantha doll and her original book. What else do I have? I have a daughter who has brown hair and brown eyes, whose brown hair is curly and in fact does sausage curls as easily as that. It's sickening. And I have a trip to Iowa coming up where there is a beautiful Queen Anne style Victorian house that was built in 1901, I believe. So a perfect opportunity to make a Samantha outfit for my daughter and dress her up in it. Coincidentally, ties in perfectly to my current Edwardian obsession. I had already been planning on making her at least one outfit that she could wear along with me in my Edwardian clothes, and was hoping to take pictures in front of, possibly inside, that Queen Anne house. And I have 3 weeks to get an outfit ready. Wish me luck. I have decided to start not with the Meet Samantha outfit that comes with the doll, but with her play dress, which she wears in the illustrations of this book that comes with the doll. Here with the pinafore, and here without. She never actually wears this one in the book illustrations inside the book, which I always thought was odd. Without the pinafore, you can see it does have a drop waist and an extra wide collar. Split in the back. Of course, my version is not going to have Velcro. I'm going to do buttons. It's a fairly simple design. Dropped waist, gathered skirt, long sleeves, which are then gathered into a cuff. The white cuffs match the standing collar. And it is a blue and white window pane check, which was not super easy to find. I did find this on Etsy. It's a Robert Kaufman woven plaid, and it's a linen cotton blend. I found this pattern in the vintage pattern database when I was looking for something else entirely, and I realized that it really has the same lines as almost all of Samantha's wardrobe. It has the drop waist, long sleeve gathered into a cuff, and optional pleated detail on the front. I found this pattern for sale on Etsy, but before I bought it, I asked my mom if she happened to have it, and she did. So I'm going to use this one. It is a size 5, and my daughter is currently in size 4T, so it might be slightly too big, but I'm going to try a mock-up and we'll see. The great part about visiting my parents for this project was I didn't have to bring anything with me. I had ordered the fabric just before I left for Iowa, and I had it shipped directly to my parents' house. And my mom had the pattern already, and she also has a newly renovated sewing studio that my dad built for her in what used to be a screened-in porch on the back of the house. She is a prolific quilter and owns multiple working sewing machines. I did have to retrain myself how to use my grandma's 1950s Singer sewing machine. It's an electric machine, but it uses a lever at the knee instead of a foot pedal to run. The mock-up was slightly big, but I decided to leave it as is so she would have room to grow. As usual with washable fabrics, I washed and ironed my fabric before I cut out. I went ahead and cut out the checked fabric with no alterations, other than making the skirt longer. This is the pattern I used to create my own collar shape. I drafted my pattern using this square collar to get the basic shape. Then I squared up the back corner and made a point at the center front, and then used the original pattern's collar pieces to give me the correct neckline so it will match up with the dress. And in the back, I just took this point and connected it to the back point of the square collar piece. I used the antique Singer for the majority of the sewing. In fact, the only time I used my mom's more modern sewing computer was when I overlocked all the raw edges to prevent the linen-cotton blend from fraying too terribly while I sewed. I used white thread for the dress construction, since all the top stitching would be in white anyway. I rather liked the way these tucks looked, even though they would be completely covered with the collar. The only thing the vintage pattern did not provide was a standing collar, so I had to draft my own. This proved a bit tricky. For one thing, I was trying to guess the measurements I would need since I was doing this after my daughter was already in bed. It was basically the only time I could sew, but the drawback was that I couldn't measure her neck. My first attempt, which I stitched onto the bodice mock-up to try it on her, was a disaster. For attempt number 2, I actually measured her neck, and I used my first pattern as a guide for the lower edge since it already matched the dress neckline. My second attempt worked much better, though in retrospect I should have used interfacing or something to stiffen the collar. Oh well. To help it lie nice and flat, I stitched the seam allowance down on the inside of the dress. This is very nicely hidden by the collar. was an interesting way of doing the cuff, which I've never seen before. It had me stitch along the stitching line across these two dots, then clip to each dot, fold up that little bit of fabric to the stitching line, and up again on the inside, and stitch that in place. Now I chose to whip stitch it with dark thread. I think I had black on hand at the time, instead of top stitch it with white, because I didn't want that to show on the outside. I thought that might look a little silly. Anyway, then it had me sew around 3 sides of the cuff, turn that right side out, and then gather up the sleeve to the cuff. And this is the inside of the other one, which I have finished the machine sewing on, and now I'm going to hand whip the inside edge. And then when the cuffs are done, they will button like so. Okay, we've got a bodice. I measured my daughter around her hips and got 24 inches, so $31. I'm not sure yet how best to do this. I'm thinking I want to gather the front up to the hip measurement and stitch it to a stay tape on the inside, and then gather the skirt to match that. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. And that's exactly what I did. I used a scrap of the selvage of the fabric, which is usually a very firm weave and not prone to stretching. Then it was time to attach the skirt. I had previously hemmed it, so this was the last step other than the buttons and buttonholes. The skirt was simply a big rectangle sewn into a tube, so it was a simple matter of matching up the seams, center front and center back, and pulling up the gathers. And it's done! Ready for a photo shoot later today. Got buttons and buttonholes all the way down the back and at the cuffs. And here's the doll dress. I think I did a pretty good job of recreating it, and I'm very happy with it. If you would like to support me in my endeavor of recreating Samantha's entire wardrobe for my daughter, I have a link to my Ko-fi account in the description.